action again, but that's okay, guys. We are back in the action, and we are on the North American servers, so we'll see if this comes into factor. Both Zerg and Protoss pretty micro-reliant. We'll see if the lag is a bit of an issue. MacSed was saying before the game started, guys, that he was getting some unbelievable lag, so hopefully it's gone away by now. But this is the Acer Teamstory Cup. I'm Rifkin, and I'm casting today on Base Rate TV, and spawning here in the lower right corner of the map, the newcomer for Team Liquid. But he does have a 2-1 score to fall back on if anything goes wrong. It is Snute. I always go through my brain, like, I say Snute, I read Snute, it's gonna be Snute, even though I know it's pronounced otherwise, so I feel like there's like the caveat needed to say, like, I'm sorry, Snute, for saying your name wrong. But his opponent in the lower left, playing for Invictus Gaming, holding off at 11-11, bringing him here to game number 4, it is, of course, MacSed. Playing for Invictus Gaming. Now, ZVP can be a lot of fun, I feel. It's got the potential to do a lot of really silly things, but for the most part, you're going to see standard play, I feel, out of both of these players. However, Snute is a really good player, and we got a slightly earlier pool coming up. Yeah, I was going to say, though, he's nowhere near as aggressive as, like, say, your Bly or your Nurtio when it comes to getting lings across the field into your opponent's base. Does tend to like to play it a little bit safer, but with a slightly earlier pool, we'll see if he decides to capitalize on this. Sometimes Zerg players nowadays will go for that 13-14 pool just to get links out in the field so they don't have to worry about any sort of pylon blocking or even worse, cannons behind the mineral line on Whirlwind. However, MacSed going with the gateway opening for the time being. Not going to be looking to do anything crazy like that. In fact, this would be your typical expand out of our Protoss player. And it's a Cyber Core, so little Protoss lesson, since there's not a lot to talk about here in the early game. If you guys don't know, you do the 2 and 2 on gas, because this is, like, mathematically the most efficient way to get your warp tech started, to get your mothership core on the field, and to get enough resources to expand ASAP. And of course, it's really important in Protoss versus anything really, except for PvP maybe, one exception, that you have to get that expansion down quick. The faster that the Nexus is up and running, the sooner the mothership core can overcharge it. And of course, a mothership core in and of itself is more than enough to hold off what mostly comes out in the early game. And what you guys just saw in the gateway, if you're paying attention, was the cancel on the Zealot. MacSed, playing this so smart, does build it initially. If a 10 pull were to happen, lings would be coming in the base and that Zealot would have hopped out just in time to defend them. However, doesn't need it, sees the timing window has passed, cancels it, gets the extra 100 resources back, gets the Nexus down that much quicker. But now Snute with lings on the field, just gonna scout around, gonna see what he can try and get his hands on. His own expansion coming down, not playing too greedy, no quick 3 hatcheries or anything like that. Of course, a fast 3rd hatchery is a little bit less common nowadays. But, oh, that ling slips right on in. Just kind of waiting to see. I guess the mothership core said, screw it. Where did it go? Sentry gonna chase us down? Okay. The ling that... This is like the Harry Potter ling. There we go. Should have died. Oh, and I should have done first blood, but I wasn't ready for it. It's the downside to when you solo cast. You're too busy watching everything else to watch the fun stuff you have in store for the stream, but... Yeah. I don't know. MacSed, his predecessor definitely, or predecessors, I should say, definitely struggled against the Team Liquid players they came against. Snute is no small fry either, guys. This is a top-notch, high-class Zerg player. If you haven't seen him before, I don't know what you've been doing. He plays in a lot of WCS. He plays in the, I think he's coming up in the Zotac Monthly Final. I could be incorrect. He's been in pretty much every single one of them, so I naturally assume he will be in this one as well. But, oh, another link gonna get popped off before more scouting information is given away. 3 gateways forming that very nice wall. But here comes the Overlord. Alright, Ling didn't get into the main, but the Overlord certainly will. Big thing is, of course, he's going to see no extra tech, no Twilight Council, no Stargate, so he can play a little bit safer. He knows his 3rd base is alright for the time being. The only thing he has to really worry about is if there's some sort of trend style. Of course, Trend is Samsung Galaxy player who loves to do these sort of 7 Zealot hit squads at the 3rd base right around the next couple minutes. But Snute, I don't think, is going to have to worry about that at all. He's going to be on the other side of the map. Lings are going to be pressuring the front of the base here. They will never break through the sentries, of course. Oh, actually, oh no. Snute needs to get to the front of the base. He doesn't have enough. He doesn't have enough energy to force field. Or that's Snute, rather. MacSed needs to get to the front of the base. Can he get the force field off? That sentry is going to go down without a doubt. Yeah, this actually forces an overcharge. That's really unfortunate for MacSed. Not something he wanted to have happen, but of course, a little bit greedy in killing that Overlord. I shouldn't say greedy. He was killing it faster than he needed to. but that did cost him a sentry and an overcharge. So guys, that may not have seemed like a lot. You might have been like, oh, a couple lings died. Whoop-de-doop, 9 lings dead on the field. But getting the overcharge like that means later on, if Snute decides to follow us up within the next, say, like 2.5 minutes, he'll only have 1 overcharge to worry about, not 2. He'll have one less sentry on the field. Again, these are small things, but as we saw before, small things can really snowball quickly, and we'll see if that comes into effect or not. We do have Spore Crawlers coming down in these bases because, of course, Snute doesn't know if Dark Templar are on the field or not. It's always a possibility. Protoss can always... It's not something that used to be a quick tech swap, but kind of now is. But with, oh my god, so many sentries coming out in the field. Ladies and gentlemen, if Snute knew this many sentries were coming, I've seen him do some really cool things to shut this down. If you've never seen this, I do highly recommend. We got a game of Snute versus Stardust from not too long ago, where Snute basically rushed out Bane Rain in order to counteract a sentry push like this. But it's gonna be a bit rough. There's a couple of roaches on the field, no spine crawlers, lots of lings, and with this many force fields, Snoot's arm is just going to be cut in half, and half, and half, and half, and half. He's going to have to engage from multiple angles, or at least burn some of these force fields early. Spore Crawlers are here on the front lines, but they're going to do nothing more than buy a little bit of time. Lady's going to try and connect. Again, Snute playing very precarious, doesn't want to over-engage, doesn't want to over-dedicate himself, because sentries could ruin this. He's just trying to bait out some sentries right now, guys. Oh man, this is a little bit precarious. Snute in any other scenario would probably have some spine crawlers down, but unfortunately he's a bit late. Can't even start building them now. Just has to rely on incredibly good micro if he wants to win this game. Lings do get right on top of the sentries, do force a lot of force fields, but lots of sentries are picked off immediately, and Snute is able to pick out the core of this push. The Zealots are not the threat, the Stalkers are not the threat. It all comes down to those sentries, and looks like Snute managed to cut those numbers in half. But of course, not without repercussions. Half of his army died there. Most of those lings are dead. I think only like 3 got out alive, but without a superior force field count, MacSed can't really push this too hard. Oh my god, is that Proxy Robo? He Proxy Robo! I assumed this came up at home. I wasn't looking at all. Paying so much attention to the army of Snute dancing in and out here. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is going to be really cool. Immortals will be here on the front lines, and sentries might not be as necessary as before. With Immortals, you can start crushing through those roach numbers, but Lings try to connect one more time with Snute. Oh no, Snute loses a lot of those Lings, does use them for a bit of cannon fodder as the roaches do snipe a little bit from behind, but even with a huge roach count, you guys have to keep in mind, Snute's going to be cut in half. His army value is never going to be funding at full strength, and oh, I love these little snipe moves that he's doing. But that sentry count has been replenished. MacSed has a ton on the field, and guys, 10 sentries is a lot of force fields. Even if he's burning them all at once, he's still got enough for round 2, as these guys are not drying energy just yet. But Snute, gotta make sure he doesn't get caught in the time warp. Finding very unfavorable positions in which he wants to try and engage this. Can't flank with that time warp down, but does bait out some more force fields. And that Queen, oh, these roaches are gonna get caught. Forced to take a bit of an engagement coming in from the backside. More force fields going down, but these sentries are almost out of energy. But with 2 Immortals on the field, I don't know if it'll matter. Zealot's, of course, just shredding away. Stalker's being warped in from behind. Is Snute in such desperate tides right now. A couple roaches left on the field. This is not looking good for our Team Liquid player. MacSed with an amazing push with a really cool Proxy Robo facility may just be breaking Snute. Lings are flooding in. The sentries are actually pretty tapped at this point, but I'm not sure if that'll matter. Drones have been pulled. That's the sign of desperation. Drones now coming for the 3rd Queen as well. Snute's going to give it his all. He's got to hold this the best that he can. And the best that he can looks to be not enough. These drones, while valiantly fighting for their lives, just cannot connect. Good game is called, and MacSed will secure another victory for Team Liquid, bringing the score 2-2. Oh, you guys, he lost too many sentries. You silly billies.